he would come home and bring those conversations to me. And then I would tell him, well, that's not us and that's not you. So why are you entertaining it? First of all, does he have the qualities to be a good husband? Have the conversation. And that's what we do not do. We do not have those hard conversations. What do you expect in a marriage?
Welcome to Wisdom for Exploits, and I hope you are doing well. This is your host, Bola Amure. Today we are discussing something many people experience, but few openly talk about it: the abuse nobody sees in marriage. When people hear the word abuse, they often think of physical violence, but there are forms of harms that leave no bruise: emotional manipulation, control, silent punishment, and constrained criticism. The question is, can someone be married, appear fine on the outside, and still be suffering in silence? Today's conversation is about awareness, not blame, and about understanding the hidden struggle that exists behind closed doors. Joining me today is an amazing guest, Prophetess Cassandra Jackson, all the way from United States of America. She is the founder and director of Sand Soap. Welcome, Prophetess Cassandra, to this talk show. How are you faring, Mom?
I am well. I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy that this topic is being discussed.
Thank you very much. So before we dive into our question, could you please tell me more about yourself, your background, your ministry, and the story behind Sand Soap?
Oh, wow. I love the story behind Sand Soaps. First of all, my name is Cassandra Jackson. I am married. My husband's name is Charles Jackson. Between the both of us, we have 7 children. I have 5. I birthed 5, and we have one together. And then he has 2 older daughters. We reside here in Orlando, Florida. Our ministry is Christ-centered healing and deliverance ministry. So we are in full-time ministry. And now the story behind Sans Soaps. Actually, 2018, I was in a service and I was given a word saying that I was going to go into the beauty business. And in my mind, I was like, I don't even like makeup like that. But I never gave it any other thought, not realizing that what I do, it is a part of the beauty business. So fast forward a year later, I just started researching like the different body butters, like the different oils, like the benefits. And the reason I started that is because my husband is a diabetic and his skin is extremely dry and itchy. And so I just started experimenting, and it seemingly came out of nowhere. Like, I think I want to make soap. So I started like researching, watching videos on YouTube. And then I was like, but I'm scared of the lie because it gets over 200 degrees. That's hot. And so I started with that, and then I learned how to formulate the recipes. And then because I learned how to make soap, I was like, okay, but this is not good. So I prayed and I asked the Lord. I said, if I'm going to do this, help me so I can make a good product. And I finally did. So I came up with the recipe through the formulation. And then from there, it just went from there, and it has grown. And I'm ready to get back to it full time again. The name behind Sand Soaps, actually, our baby girl came up with it. And when I was thinking, I was like, what should I call it if I'm going to do this as a business? She said, well, you're the one making the soap. Why not call it Sand Soap? I said, okay, because my husband called me Sand.
Oh, wow.
So she
That's
came up
really
with the
good.
name.
Wow, that's a good one. Sense so. Wow, wonderful. Thank you so much. And thank you, Prophetess Cassandra, for honoring this call. I'm so grateful. So, as I said earlier on, the topic before us today is the abuse nobody sees in marriage. So, when people think about abuse in marriage, what do they usually get wrong?
Because they don't see the bruises.
Hmm.
And because because I didn't talk about it. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't even tell my own mother. I didn't tell my family. And what I thought was hidden from the kids was not hidden because I was hiding it from everybody, but they knew. They knew.
Mm.
It's the scars, the physical stuff that they do not see.
Okay. So does it mean that your marriage, is it this present or the previous marriage you had this
Ah,
abuse?
it was the previous marriage. Yes.
Okay, good. So, okay, what are the most common forms of abuse that leave no physical mark?
Humiliation, um, those subtle insults that seemingly like they're playing, but they're really not playing. Control, intimidation. Um, to just top it all off, unloving,
Unloving.
unloving.
So, can you give us a brief example, at least for people that will be listening to us? That okay, can you give us an example of those unloving, all this stuff you mentioned?
Well, withholding affection, where we used to like greet each other in the morning, that was no more. Um, one thing that was the major thing was the financial part.
Mm.
People don't see the financial part. And in that marriage, my income was of such that it was okay if they didn't participate, but it wasn't okay. So, different forms of abuse. Well, it was physical, it was financial, it was emotional. Um, and those are the things that nobody talks about because it was actually said to me, well, he hit you? It didn't start off like that. But towards the end, that's what took place when he decided to put his hands physically on me.
Okay. So, when you mention about the financial part, are you the breadwinner of the family, or is it both of you, or it's just that the other party is not willing to support?
Well, it was both of us, but my income was more.
Okay. So, is it because your income was more, that was why your ex relented that, okay, I don't want to do much anymore because our income is a bit more? Because we're talking about this for people that are going through this kind of situation at the moment. So how does it feel like? Because some people don't even see it as an issue. They say, you know what, it's my husband, I love him, but they don't see it in the eyes of abuse.
Well, he didn't bring his money home. Somebody
Okay.
else got the money. The money was spent on the gentleman's club. Yeah. So the money didn't come home. That I would say it that way. The money didn't come home where it needed to be in the household.
Okay. What are the example of the emotional abuse that you experience? Because somebody else might be experiencing it and they said, you know, I need to stay in this marriage. It's only emotional, it's not beating me, it's not affecting me. And sometimes we believe that emotional trauma is even more than physical beating.
It is.
So
It
how
is.
do
I equate the emotional and mental together. Seemed like everything that I did, it was not good enough. Where something so simple, cooking dinner is not simple, but cooking dinner, fixing their favorite foods, and I know that that's what they like to eat. Not even a thank you, or it's about time. Those insults. I mean, just never anything good to say. Constant criticism.
Mm,
I'd rather you tell me that it was good, even if it wasn't good.
okay.
Yes.
So there is no, with these emotional things, that even though you take all your time to do the cooking, to do the shopping, there is nothing like thank you. There is nothing like, oh, you're doing well. It's just like, okay, everything you're doing is not nice.
Right. Everything was wrong. It was always something to be improved upon.
Okay. So my next question is, how can someone tell the difference between normal marriage, conflict, and emotional abuse? If you can give me a good example detail so that someone going through this might know that, okay, so I'm in an abusive marriage, not really that this person really loved me, yeah.
Okay. Well, difference between normal marital conflict, say for instance, who's
Mhm.
going to take the garbage out?
Okay.
That's simple. Who's going to pay the bills? One person may be good at handling the money, the other person may not. The emotional abuse, because he always dominated the conversations, I would just shut down. I would just stop talking because I felt like I wasn't heard. And I also felt like it didn't matter what I said anyway. He wasn't going to listen.
Okay.
So those are the examples.
Okay. Before we go ahead with our question, prophetess, is it okay to give me a brief about how you enter into this marriage? Did you see any red lights before going into this marriage?
Well, I just shook my head. No, wait a minute. Let me. Well, I agreed to marriage because we already had a son.
Okay.
Yes. So I agreed to it. And my parents was like, well, you already have a child. And I would tell anybody, just because you have a child doesn't mean that that may be your spouse. So I would say it that way. And I felt like that I shouldn't have done it. But I stayed 17 years. Yes. So there are red flags that we see and that we ignore. And I ignored it for, well, hoping that everything would be okay. But it was not.
Yeah, we know the child happened, and parents want to say, okay, you know what? We just want you to marry because there is a child already in this relationship. So it's not a real relationship that, okay, when they married, we had this baby out of wedlock.
Right.
Yeah. So my question for you now is that when you were courting or when you were in that, I will call it cohabiting relationship. That's what we call it in Christendom. Cohabiting relationship. Were you seeing any sign that, okay, this, my lover, is going to come one day and start abusing me? Is it going to change? Is it going to, his way of life, is it going to be manipulating me? Is it going to costing me trauma in this relationship? Did you see any red flags?
No, we were actually high school sweethearts. We were high
yeah.
school. We were high school sweethearts, and then when I went to college, then there was like a separation, and then came back together. But of course, high school and adulthood is two different eras. So I thought he was still that same person, but that definitely was not the case.
So it was when the marriage, you now get into the real marriage, that this picture start coming up.
It was gradual. It wasn't all at once because in the beginning, it was good. It was okay. But then I think it hit about that fourth year. Yeah.
So if you want to trace back that, okay, this is my lover when we were in college and things were good. And I believe he's a nice man, he look after me. Do you think the reason why it changed is because maybe he started moving with some particular friends? Or is it just, he just decided, I just want to be mean to this woman?
Looking back, friends and coworkers. Friends and coworkers, because he would come home and bring those conversations to me. And then I would tell him, well, that's not us and that's not you. So why are you entertaining it? So it definitely started with the friends and his work coworkers.
Okay, co-workers. Okay, thank you. So what will you tell a young lady that is in this situation now and the parents are forcing her to, you've given birth now, you just go into the marriage? Because sometimes we know parents, they pressurize their children. They say, we're going to be disgraced, especially as a believer. They'll say, oh, this is a disgrace, just married him, married her. What will you say based on your own experience or what you've been through?
I would tell the young lady, no, ma'am, take your time. Take a good look. First of all, does he have the qualities to be a good husband? Have the conversation. And that's what we do not do. We do not have those hard conversations. What do you expect in a marriage? What are you bringing to the marriage? And marriage is not a 50-50 deal. It is a 100, both parties coming together. And then that's where out what you are expecting in your marriage. That's what I did with this marriage. I didn't take anybody's opinions. I didn't care what anybody had to say. I took everything to the Lord. And I made the decision. There was no pressure. There wasn't anything. But we have to take the time because we get so excited about that wedding dress.
Mm-hmm.
Don't look at that wedding dress because the marriage is more than the wedding dress.
True.
And ask those questions that need to be asked. And especially if they already have a child, I would say move with caution. Just because you have a child doesn't mean that the father is your husband.
Mm, mm, That's true. That's true. That's wonderful. So, can emotional abuse happen gradually without either partner realizing it?
Yes,
So, give me your example, please.
feeling dismissed. I would
Mm,
suggest something. Well, let us go to the beach this weekend, and always being put off. Never thought
mm,
anything of it. I was like, well, maybe tired because his schedule was Monday through Friday. I think it was like from 9 to 6 p.m. And on the weekends, we were free. Of course, went to church on Sundays, but for a Saturday, just one day, let's go to the beach. Always a promise, never came through. And we have an expression that we say here in America when they're like sneak dissing you. Pretty much, it's like teasing you. It's like a insult, but with laughter behind it.
mhm,
And so that's why I say when people do that, or when the spouse do that, take it serious. It's not funny.
mm.
It's not funny.
So, in your own time, you were just overlooking it that, maybe it's one of those things because we have church on Sunday.
Yes, and always hoping. And I found a mistake, something that I fell into, because during that time I wasn't like in ministry. I
Mm-hmm.
was a believer, but not doing ministry. Sometimes we allow the pastors to talk us into, because that happened as well. Well,
Mm,
you already have this child, so pressure from the pastor, pressure from the parents.
mm,
And I always, and when I spoke to my pastor about it, oh, just go home, pray about it. Both of you all pray, and I always had it in my mind, always hoping.
mm,
And I was hoping for too long. That was a lot of hope, a lot of years of hoping. So that's what we need to look into. And then also, too, I believe we fall into these situations is because of our parents. What do I mean by that? I watched my mom.
mm,
I watched my mom, stepdad. That wasn't a good example as far as a relationship for me. And because she stayed and she didn't put up a fuss or anything like that,
mm,
that's what I did. Just looking back, that's what I did. And
mm,
no. So my conversation with my girls is totally different when it comes to relationships and definitely marriage.
mm. So, because Mama, despite what Mama was going through, she's
Yes.
telling you that, what, just endure. Keep enduring till things will get better. And things
Hmm.
never get better, isn't it?
And it never got better.
So, the pastor, what will you say to men of God based on your experience? Because 17 years is a lot of years, isn't it, to be in an
Yes.
abusive marriage? So based on, I mean, for pastors now, for pastors now, what will you say if somebody like you go to some pastors now, say, this pastor, this is what I'm going through in my marriage. I'm having emotional trauma in my marriage. What will you tell, or what will you advise the pastor to say to that young lady or young woman?
And because we are in it right now, we
Yeah.
tell them, listen, if this is going on, invite him to come. If he
Okay.
comes, if he's willing to listen, and then suggest marital counseling. Or
Good.
maybe you or the pastor can suggest counseling together. Or maybe another pastor, because sometimes the other party may feel like, oh, well, because this pastor, they may be biased towards you. But
Mm-hmm.
what we recommend is we don't tell anybody what to do in their marriage. We don't tell anybody to leave their marriage. We hear them out. And if there is emotional, any type of abuse,
Mm-hmm.
I would just politely tell them, maybe you need to do something different. But the person that knows what to do is you. And always be in prayer. You can pray all the time, but if this is a consistent thing, and if both parties are willing to work it out. But
Mhm.
if they're not willing to work it out, my response is you need to do something different. And whatever that difference is, that's up to you.
Okay. That's a good one. So during your own challenges, do you seek for counseling? Despite what the parent, I know the parents have counseled you, the pastor has counseled you, but did you seek for external counseling?
Well, I never thought to get, I'll say professional
Mhm.
counseling, but we had many counseling sessions with different pastors. But he wasn't even complicit in that. Even in the counseling sessions, he was condescending and sarcastic. So that didn't help either.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for that. So, what role do power and control play in a subtle forms of marital abuse? Power and control.
Like the power for me was the emotional part because, well, I can only speak for me. I am a emotional and affectionate person.
Mhm.
So that was the power part. The Well, that was for both for me. I had the income, um, and I kept a separate account. So, like the financial part for me, I controlled that, and I didn't give him access to that. It's the
Okay.
emotional and affectionate part that he used that to manipulate me. He would come and hug me when he normally would not. He would come and kiss me, or he'd say, "Let's go out to dinner, let's go," because he knew that those were the things that I like to do. And when he did that, and I found the pattern, after that took place, he got what he wanted, even the finances out of me. And then he went back to his old self again. So that was the power and control that he had over me until I finally broke it.
Okay. Something was just coming to my mind. That means this your ex, was he truly born again? Let me use that word. Was she? Does
No,
she
he was
truly?
not. No, he was not born again.
He wasn't born again. Okay.
No,
When you married, he
no,
wasn't born again.
no, no.
Okay.
And that's
So
another thing.
okay. So that means okay. So were you regretting that I could have just married somebody that understand my belief?
Right.
Okay. How does emotional neglect differ from emotional abuse? No, we have neglect now and we have the abuse, or are they connected?
They're connected because emotional abuse, if you're withholding your affection from me, I mean, and I'm not talking about the intimate, the
Mhm.
physical act. I'm not talking about that.
Mhm.
A simple hug. Honey, you look nice today.
Mm.
Um, just simple stuff like that. I didn't get any of that. I didn't get
Mm.
any of that. But he used it as a form of control. And when he did say those things, until I caught the pattern, then he would do those things because he knew that that drew me in, and it did until I broke that as well.
Okay. So for men listening to us now,
Hmm?
what are we going to say to some men that they don't like to give their woman the word of affirmation that, oh, you look good, your hair look nice, you're not looking bad, I like your clothes, I like the way you walk. So as a woman of God now, what will you say to that kind of young guy coming into marriage? And this is the background that he never sees the dad saying that to the mom. So
Correct.
how will they
Mhm.
cultivate that kind of habit?
Well, they, like my son, my husband and I son, he
Mhm,
sees his father, he
mhm,
hears his father compliments his mom. And then he'll say, "Oh, mom, you look nice today. Oh, you look so beautiful." So if
mhm,
children don't hear that, but I made it a practice in my first marriage with our sons and daughters because we had two and two boys, two girls. I would
mhm.
tell them they're handsome all the time. I would tell the girls you were absolutely beautiful until it formed in their mind that they already knew this. So nobody can't come along and like sway them with those sweet words. That's how I would say that. But they need to hear that. And if the woman does not hear that, somebody else is going to tell her.
It's true. It's true. So every parent, we need to tell our children, you look handsome, you look beautiful. So that
You're
will be
doing well.
that will be at the back. Apart from that, what other things can a man say to the wife to make her really feel that, okay, I'm accepted, this man truly loves me?
Yes. If she cooks you dinner, honey, thank you for the dinner. Thank you for choosing my favorite foods. Thank you for taking care of our children. Thank you for keeping our house clean. Thank you for loving and taking care of me. To me, those are simple things. I'm not concerned about what you bought me.
Mm.
It's the things that connect us emotionally together that means the most.
You know, you see, some of African men don't say this, you know.
Wow.
Some
African men
African,
get it together.
yeah, exactly. Some African men, they don't say this, you know. I'm not going to lie about that. They don't say it. They don't say, oh, thank you for looking after children. Thank you for doing this. It's only thing that concerns them. They say thank you too. So I
Wow.
think now they need to, yeah, and because and some ladies now coming from this kind of background that, you know, your mom, your dad used to say, oh, you're a good girl. Thank you for fixing that. Thank you for washing the plate. Thank you for cleaning that. And now they hear that in their home, but unfortunately they get married to somebody that the background is not like that. So how
Correct.
will they cope that the wife will not be thinking that this is an emotional abuse for me?
Yes, and you know what? Actually, this probably about a few months ago,
Mhm.
because I deal with the African community, and I had to tell them. I said, "You all may think that I'm being rude, but we have cultural differences because I live here in America."
Mhm.
And my husband, my current husband, he tells me those things. I cook, he tells me thank you. If the food is good to his liking, he tells me thank you. Um, that's the norm for
Mm.
us. So, and with the cultural differences, and I was also told one day on the live, oh, well, we don't get that over here. We pretty much have to just take it and keep going.
Exactly.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, because I know the African background. They won't say that. It's only when maybe you help them to pick up something, they'll say, oh, thank you for helping me picking up that thing. But not thank you for cleaning the house. Thank you for the dinner. No, I think, yes, some people are getting knowledge now. Let me just say that some African men are doing that gradually, but not all. Not all of them. So sometimes the woman might be thinking that they are really, you know, maybe they might count it as a neglect or lack of, you know, not showing affection. And some African men, not let me just use men now so that the African men will not come after me and say, why you mention African? Some men is like, and it's only when they want to have intimacy with their wife, that
Oh,
is when they will now say, okay, you look good today, you look good. After that, they don't say nothing. I remember she's a woman of God as well. She was telling me that if her husband wants to have an intimacy with her in the night, then from morning, the husband will start helping her in the kitchen, doing all sorts
hmm.
of things. Then she will not have that, okay, this man wants me tonight, you know. And some men, they won't even do that. They won't even help you. They won't do the washing. They won't do nothing. And night come say, oh, come here, come here, come here. Let's do this.
Right.
So are you going to count that as an emotional abuse?
I call that manipulation.
So no. So we can't categorize or emotional neglect. So that would be manipulation.
Yes.
Wow. God have mercy. Let's move on, prophetess. So what happens psychologically to a spouse who feel constantly dismissed and invalidated? I know you've been through that, so you just give us a little bit
I
of
lost
more.
my confidence. I lost confidence. I didn't speak up as much as I used to before we were married.
Mm-hmm.
It was like I was lost.
Mm.
Um, I didn't want to go around people. And then he would say, "Oh, you're just being too sensitive."
Mm.
But actually, I was protecting my feelings.
Mm. So when you say you lost confidence, in what way?
Well, he never told me, "Oh, honey, you look nice today." I would do my hair, and I would say, "Honey, how does my hair look?" It's all right. We get dressed to go somewhere, or if I'm going out to church with the children, and I would ask, "Well, how do we look?" He would say, the kids." Oh, he would tell the boys they're handsome. He would tell our girls, "Oh, you're so beautiful," but he wouldn't say those things to me.
Oh dear.
Mm-hmm.
So you
Yeah.
now start feeling losing confidence in yourself.
Mhm.
Okay. Wow. All right. Apart from that, is there any other constant feelings or invalidated that you remember you can mention? Because this is 17 years relationship.
I was sad all the time. I cried all the time because I
Mm.
was miserable and I didn't know who I could talk to. Because when I did talk to the pastors, they would always say, "Oh, just go home and pray about it." Never a solution. Never a solution.
They'll just say pray, pray, pray. What about your parent? Did you say anything to them?
Well, because my mother was in that type of marriage, what could she say to me?
Oh, okay,
Mhm.
that's why I got you. Okay. So why do many people minimize or excuse harmful behavior in marriage?
They used to tell me, "Well, at least you're married. At least you
Mm.
married your high school sweetheart." But what is the use of being married if I can't enjoy my marriage? That's how I felt.
Mm.
It was a constant tug of war, but it was a mess from the beginning. What do I mean by that? We were unequally yoked. I didn't know any better at the time.
Mm.
So it makes a big difference.
Looking at your story now, what will you say to those women out there that always says, okay, even though I know my husband doesn't love me anymore, but because I have children, because of these kids, I want to stay. I don't mind, because I know a lot of people have lost their life through this, especially those that have the physical abuse, that the husband
Right.
always eats them and do all sorts of things to them. Some women will say, I know I'm not enjoying my marriage, but because of the children, I want to stay. What will you say to them?
I just said this before this interview. I talked to a young lady.
Mm-hmm.
I told her, "I'm not going to tell you to leave. Only you can make that decision. I'm just going to ask you some questions."
Okay.
So I asked her some questions. I asked her, what can she do to earn money, or is she earning money now? Because
Mm-hmm.
this is what I did. I started planning. I did what I was supposed to do for the home financially, and then I started saving. And what I said was that I was planning my escape. That's what I said. I was planning my exit because it got to be too much
Mm.
mentally for me. And then I was watching my children because I noticed the patterns, especially with my sons. I would be in the bedroom and then they'll just walk by and they'll just come and then they'll peek in. And I'm like, "Are you okay?" "Oh, no, Mom, we're just checking on you." And
Mm.
they were doing that for a while, but Dad would be in the front room. He would be in
Mm.
the living room watching TV, but they would come to the back, checking on me, making sure I was okay, or they would call to see if I was okay,
Okay.
if we both were not at home. So I started seeing the patterns in the children. And for me personally, it's not worth it. I'm not staying for the children.
Mm.
I'm not staying married just for the sake of being married. And one would say, well, what does the Bible say? Well, because Jesus came, he brought something. What was that? Forgiveness. I don't think my daddy would want me to be miserable and hurt all the time and every day because somebody does not love me the way they need to love me.
Mm.
But I would not say it directly. I would say you need to do something different, and only you know what that different is.
That's true. That's true. And women, we can pretend a lot with all this makeup,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
nobody knows what is going on inside.
Correct.
So you are the one to make, because a lot of ladies, women in general, they will say to you, I'm staying there because of my marriage. I remember a woman of God, one of our conference, she was saying that there is this their church member that when they come to church, they wear the same attire. They wear the same clothes, the same style and all that stuff. And when they're praising God, they raise hand, the holy hand to heaven. And she will be thinking that, wow, I love this couple. Myself and my husband were pastor, but we don't do this. You
Mhm.
understand? That's another thing when it comes to comparing your marriage to people, because you
Right.
don't know what they're dealing with. And she said that they will raise holy hand, and she will be saying that, myself and my husband that we're pastor of this church, we don't do this. Then one day, she said around 2 a.m., she had a phone call from one of I think the child was 6 years old, of that child. Guess what, prophetess, what happened? The man has been beating the wife,
Wow.
and the man tied the woman by the bunk bed, beating her. And the kids, the eldest one, according to that story, the eldest one was 6 years old. He was the one that picked up the phone and rang and said, Pastor, come and rescue my mom. In the middle of the night. So when they got there, the woman of God said they rushed out of the bed in her pajamas. They went to the house. They drove down to the house of the lady. When they drove her to the house of the lady, she said she saw the lady tied by the bunk bed. And she was like, how long has this been going on? We're talking about facade now, when people pretend and say, I'm going to stay because of the children. And that was what the lady said to the pastor. The pastor was like, but I see you guys in church, you raise holy hand, you wear the same attire, you come to church
Yeah.
and all that stuff. So how long has this been going on? And she said it's been going on for a while.
Wow.
And what the woman was saying that, don't know what you wish for yourself. Because you mentioned something like that you are the one in this. You are the one that need to make a decision for
Right.
your life. Yes. So he said, was like, how long? I said, it's been going on for a while. Why are you still here? Because of the children. What if you die? The children will live their life. So let me go to my next question. Why do many people minimize or excuse harmful behavior in marriage?
Well, I don't know if I should say this, but this is how I felt it, and this is how I still feel about it.
No, just say it the way you want to say it. The way it
Listen,
has affected you.
my feelings go with my behind. What I mean by that, if I don't feel loved by you, I can't be intimate with you. Um, but one thing I did find out, I can be intimate with you and be totally far from you mentally. I can give you my body, but I'm not there.
I think that goes on with a lot of women though. Even
Hmm.
some men, men, they don't give with their whole hearts. Not all.
No,
Don't let
no,
Not all of
no,
them.
no.
Not all of them. So some women too, they will just say, okay, because I want to fulfill righteousness. Just do what you want to do to fulfill what the scripture says.
Hmm.
And then off we go. And the mind is not there.
Correct.
So is that a good thing or is it a bad thing?
It's a bad thing, but it got him away from me. It's a bad to me. It's a bad thing. It is a bad thing, but it happens because it happened with me.
Okay. Okay, so you give your mind, no, you give your body, but your mind is not. So I don't care what happened.
Right. It's like, just go ahead.
I'll give you 5 minutes. Just do a go.
Hmm.
Okay, that's good. I got you. How does eating abuse affect intimacy and trust over time? You trusted this your lover, now abuse is coming. So how does it affect this intimacy?
It got to the point where it was none
Mm.
because I didn't trust him. I didn't feel safe. I didn't trust him at all. And not only that, he was going outside as well. So that was a no. And
Was
then
he
I
having
started,
sorry, was he having an extramarital affair outside?
yes, yes. Hmm.
How did you get to know?
Oh, because they called the house phone and she told me, yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Mm. So the trust got broken.
Oh, it was totally broken after that. Mm-mm.
Okay. So what impact does silence and emotional abuse have on children who grow up in that environment? Wow, that one is a big one. Please tell
That's
me.
why I said, that's why I said, when we think children don't know,
You
they
know.
know. And that's why my sons, they would like come to the bedroom and check on me, even my girls. It
Mm.
got to the point where my girls would come and sleep in the bed with me.
Wow.
Hmm. They know. They may not see. They saw one time, and that time was it for me. It was done for the marriage was done.
Is it
All four
physical
of them.
words?
I'm
Was
sorry.
it was he uttering a physical words like these nonsense words that people say to their spouses? Is that what the children were saying, or just the
Yes.
attitude?
Right. The attitude, how their dad was treating me, how we interacted, it was very cold until
Mm.
until they got to the point where they were asking questions because by this time they were teenagers.
Wow.
Hmm.
Mm. Okay. So, from a moral and faith perspective, how should someone confront harmful pattern in their marriage?
I always talk about First Corinthians chapter 13. What are the
Mm.
characteristics and the traits?
Mm.
Are they kind to you? Are they patient?
Mm-hmm.
Are they recounting your wrongs?
Mm-hmm.
Are they doing any of those things? Do you have mutual respect for one another?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those type of things. If those are missing, there is a big problem.
Okay. So, anyone now in marriage that is harmful, or they see the marriage that this marriage is heading towards something else, so they need to try and establish First Corinthians chapter 13 and look
Hmm.
at it from that mirror that all these things is it still existing in this marriage.
Correct. And
Okay,
then it was
what
something that I'm sorry.
okay, go on, don't worry, because I want to say, what about if they say, okay, the man still love me, after all, he still give me my love language, after all, he still buy me some
Well, I
stuff.
didn't get no love language, no nothing,
Not love language.
no acts of service, nothing, no physical touch, nothing, nothing. Mm-mm, mm-mm. Nope,
Yeah.
nope, 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 nope. Mm-mm, no.
Okay.
And what helped me? Well, what I thought helped me because I was always looking for a way to save everything. That's what I have done. So one day, I was told write down the good and the bad. If the
Mm,
good outweigh the bad, try it again. But the
mm.
bad outweighed the good,
Wow.
and I was still trying to make it work. Still, mm-mm.
But it didn't work. I've listened to one preacher one time ago. I can't remember who that person is. She said it was a women conference. I wasn't there. I was listening to the message, and she told the people at the conference that, okay, get a pen and paper, write down the negative, what your husband is doing that is bad and the good one. And she said by the time she started looking at everybody paper, the bad one outweigh the good the good one. And he said, look at it in the lens of Christ. Jesus has come to forgive our sin. That's it. So it's not good that the bad one is too much time. But anyway, if
Yes.
forgiveness and if the partner is willing to change, so I don't think there is anything bad in that. When the partner are ready to change, I don't think
Yes.
anything is bad. Yeah. So what if they are ready to change? What could you have done better?
If he was willing to change, I still would have done anything to help it, but he just wasn't willing to make anything better. He wasn't even willing to do better. He wasn't willing to get better. He wasn't willing to stop doing what he was doing.
But were you a nagging woman?
No, not at all. I was always helpful, always hopeful to a fault because of the church, because of the pastors telling us, no, telling me, pray about it, stay, just love him more. So that's why I'm very careful about what I say when it comes to people and their relationships. No, I went above and beyond. I went beyond. Part of it because I was scared. I didn't think that I would be able to make it by myself. So that was another thing too that kept me.
I know, Pastor, because they will be thinking that we can't tell them to go and divorce. We can't tell them to go their own way. What God has joined together, let nothing put asunder. So now, if you're not, because a lot of men used to say, oh, she's a nagging woman, oh, she's always nagging. That is why I'm doing what I'm doing. Because, we don't know what is going on behind the closed door, as I said.
Right.
And I know some women, they're so quiet, they'll just be thinking that, let him just be doing what he's doing. A time is come and let me just leave him to do what he's doing. If somebody is not a nagging woman, you're not a nagging woman, and the man cannot pick up that this is a nagging woman. When you were praying, during the time of prayer, what were you hearing? What was the Holy Spirit telling you?
Listen, wouldn't telling me nothing. When I say I'm being brutally honest, because number one, I was desperate. Number two, I was so willing to make things work. Even in the prayer, I didn't take time to listen until, and even one day, there's a bookstore that we used to have here called Borders. It's like a Starbucks. You can go and get coffee, have internet or whatever. And one day I went to this place. I just got something to drink, took a book off the shelf, sat down, and I was reading it. And this elderly lady came up to me, did not know me. I definitely did not know her. And she said these words to me. She said, Miss, she said, children are happy when their mama is happy. And I looked at her. I said, okay. And she turned around and she walked off. I felt like that was a clue and a cue right there to go. But because fear gripped me, and I'm thinking in my mind, number one, if you do this again, who's going to want you with 4 children? Because he said that too. Would I be able to make it on my own financially? How would I take care of the kids? How will I work and be able to do that? Fear held me hostage until one day that dismantled it all. And the children was a witness to it.
So were the children happy?
No. After the divorce, my oldest two, because the boys were the oldest, they said, Mama, we should have been gone a long time ago.
Wow.
So when we think children are not seeing or not noticing anything, they are. Because after that, that's when they came and told me about how Dad acted towards me and about the phone calls that they would hear him have. They said we should have been gone a long time ago.
Wow. It's true. Children know what they're going through. They know what they see. They can relate to what they're seeing, even though they might not be able to voice it out,
Right.
And that's why it's like they used to say something now that what it's not about when you say you want to teach your children, It's not about the words of your mouth, it's about your action. Because children learn by action.
Correct.
They learn by action. That's true. Thank you, prophetess. So if someone listening realize they may experience or causing hidden abuse, what practical first steps should they take?
Well, for me, I call the hotline number. We have a hotline number here, a 800 number for abuse.
Yeah.
And then we have like an information line, like if you need help. And what the young lady told me on the phone, start documenting, start writing down. But by this time, it was probably like a year since they decided to put their hands on me. So it's been a year that they haven't done that. And so I told them everything. And so she told me to just keep an eye out, because normally when men do this, they don't change. They don't change. And just watch the pattern. And then I think 2 days later, that's what happened. And then she suggested counseling. But I didn't know. But by this time, I didn't trust anybody to counsel me, because all I heard was just pray about it. Stay. Remember, you all have children together. I didn't trust anybody. At that point, I was done. And I made so many excuses for him. I covered up for him with my parents. I covered up for him with the church members. I just covered for him. I always made excuses for him. And that was the mistake.
You're covering him up. Wow. Wow. That's a good one. So final question for us today, or for you today. How does constant criticism and belittling affect a spouse over time?
It makes you feel this small.
Even in a new marriage now.
Oh no! Oh, the new marriage. Oh no! Anything I do, he absolutely loves it. I can cook food. It's always thank you. It's always good. Even though I know one day I messed up a dish, I did it on purpose to see what he was saying.
Okay.
I was still complimented. Cooking, cleaning, everything is a compliment. Honey, you look nice today. Did you do your hair today? What did you do different? Night and day, totally different. Totally different. Totally different.
So back to, I understand now that this second marriage is far better compared to the first one now. Or could it be because your husband is a man of God?
Yes.
And he knows better, because he has to do that work because of what the Bible says. Because of what the Bible says. What about the men of God that don't do that?
Wow. For the ones that don't do that, but the strange part that from what I have observed, it is the men that are not in what I observed. Now, what I had was the exception. They were more affectionate and more loving than the Christian men. And I was like, that's strange. So even with my current husband, I was still skeptical. But it didn't turn out like that. Far better.
Because the man of God, pastor, bishop, apostle, they have to practice what they preach.
Yeah, have to, or do they do it?
I'm saying now that they have to practice what they're doing, because if they're reading the scripture that husband love your wife, because if they don't love their wife, they don't do what they need to do, their prayer is going to be in there.
Correct.
You understand? So that's why I said they know better. I know there are some out there that they treat their wife. I've heard story about pastor's wife. is another level. Even I've heard
Yeah.
story that some people, they are in the same house, they don't touch each other 9 years, 7 years, five
Yes.
years. Nothing happened. But I don't know what kind of marriage is that. So okay, back to my question now before we interject. How does constant criticism or belittling affect a spouse over time? I know you mentioned belittling. Is there any other thing you want to mention too?
I stated that I cried all the time. I wasn't happy. I was
Okay.
miserable. I was miserable. I didn't want to be around anybody because I was miserable.
Mm,
And I didn't want to dampen anybody else's mood. I didn't want to bring my mess to anybody else. I didn't want anybody else to feel bad. So I was isolated. He didn't isolate me. His actions caused me to isolate myself.
mm, mm. So I know these are these are last question. I'm just thinking about something that what I know you've mentioned a lot of things that you are the one that know where the shoe is inching you. I'm just gonna use that proverb. So what about some ladies that what the husband belittle them, they say all sort of nasty thing to them. How can you encourage them? I won't say advice now, encourage them.
Encourage.
Yeah, encourage them, because you now say that, okay, you took time to start planning. Oh God, I need to plan. I have children I need to look after if I'm going to make my way out of this toxic relationship. But what about if somebody, especially when the Western world, have some people, is their husband that brought them into the country.
Mhm.
And now they are thinking that, oh, I'm just by myself in the country now. How am I going to survive? My husband is the breadwinner. And this woman, seeing the husband as a breadwinner, going through this so much abuse, I mean, I won't say advice, as I said, what encouragement will you give them?
I would encourage them to always stay in a place of prayer, and not only that, if
Mm-hmm.
if they have neighbors, take a chance and talk to a neighbor. Knock on a door. Knock on the door and ask, could I talk to you? I need help. Because there are some people who are willing to help if they are asked.
Mm,
Everybody is not bad. Everybody is not bad. So
mm.
that is my encouragement, because we stay so isolated and so closed up in fear that I don't have any help. How do you know until you ask for help?
It's true. It's true. That's a good one, but some people might be, skeptical and be thinking that I don't even know, maybe if I talk to my neighbor, he's going to come back. When my husband come back from work, they might start telling them, or they are hearing their story in the neighborhood. So sometimes some people might be so scared about that.
I was scared too, but I took a chance because something just rose up in me. I just took a chance. I just took a chance.
Mm.
Either do you want to stay or do you want to get out? Fear is something else. And fear had gripped me for years. Shame gripped me for years. And I had enough.
Mm. Wonderful. Thank you, Prophetess Cassandra, for your time today. And to our viewers, marriage is meant to be a place of safety, growth, and partnership. But sometimes harm can exit quietly, without shouting, without bruises, without witnesses. The goal of this conversation is not to label or condemn, but to raise awareness, as I said, because when we understand what earthly love look like, we are better equipped to build. So, Prophetess, thank you so much for your time and for joining me on this conversation. And before I go, if you are going through abuse, I got the UK number here. I'm going to allow Prophetess to give the US if you're in the US. And if you're in the other country, you come across this, this discussion, please go to Google. Thank God for Google now. But I'm going to
Yes.
give the UK number for abuse is 0808 2000 247 is 0808 2000 247. Prophetess, can you please give the US number for abuse? So seek help if you are going through abuse. Not necessarily that you want to divorce, but if you know you are really going through abuse, please seek help. You need help.
Yes,
Don't go before your time.
correct. Because help is available.
Help
The
is
number where I am, it is 1-800
mhm.
799 7233. Also, if you do not want to call, you can text this number. It is 88788. So if you don't want to speak verbally, you can text and get help.
Thank you so much. That is that from us today, and God bless you, wonderful people. Bye for now.